Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm a sophomore here at MCC studying elementary education, and this semester I had the opportunity of working at a school here in Mesa as an after-school aide. It was a Title I school, so a lot of the kids' parents had to work and weren't able to pick them up until around 5 or so. So it was my responsibility to educate and entertain about 20 of these young kids for about an hour after school or until their parents came to pick them up. It was a fabulous experience. I learned so much about the field of education, and I can now say with conviction that I want to teach. I did have one problem though, Sebastian. Sebastian was a second grader and a delightful kid. He would always come up and say hi to me, and he loved to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog and, well, mostly just Sonic the Hedgehog. That wasn't the problem though. Sebastian has ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. If you're not familiar with the disorder, some of the symptoms of ADHD include fidgeting or tapping hands and feet, excessive talking, the inability to sit still, easily becoming distracted, or not listening when being spoken to. While the symptoms of ADHD vary between people, it seemed that Sebastian had all of them. I couldn't get him to sit still, listen, or really do anything productive. He was a distraction to his peers, and he was causing an impressive array of other problems. Now, ADHD is covered under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act as an other health impairment, so Sebastian was entitled to an IEP and all the accommodations and supports that come with it. Now, I don't know if Sebastian had an IEP or not. That was a problem. Communication, or rather, the lack of it. I had been working with Sebastian for weeks, and I hadn't heard one word about his attention deficit or behavior issues, and it was clear that none of the other staff at the school had any idea how to deal with him either. Sebastian may have had an IEP and been appropriately supported in the classroom, but I wouldn't have known, and I needed to know. It wasn't until about a month of working there that his teacher mentioned anything to me about Sebastian. We were outside eating a snack, and Sebastian, despite my multiple warnings, had just chucked his full carton of milk onto the ground as hard as he could, causing a milk explosion that left no survivors. This is when Mrs. Markham spoke up. She informed me that Sebastian responded very poorly to any negative feedback, which I had just discovered, and that the best way to reach him was through positive reinforcement. This was a game changer. I could have determined that earlier on in the semester, but I hadn't, and if she had just told me right away, we could have avoided weeks of raised voices and milk-soaked shoes. As educators and future educators, we need to communicate. I don't mean gossiping or talking negatively about students. I mean positive and constructive communication. Students have a right to learn, and if their supports and accommodations are limited to only one aspect of their learning, learning becomes that much more difficult. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act allows and encourages parents to be involved in the planning and maintaining of an IEP for their child. It also requires an IEP team to be assembled that includes various people in the student's life: teachers, principals, parents, other family members, educational and medical professionals, etc. By including so many different people from various aspects of the child's life, we can ensure that the child is getting every help they need to ensure academic success. We also have the in-task teaching standards, some of which address these ideas. Standard 3 encourages teachers to work together and collaborate to provide positive learning environments for their students, and Standard 10 is entirely centered around collaboration as well. If all the adults that were responsible for Sebastian at some point during the school day, general education teacher, special education teacher, principal, nurse, librarian, me, if we were all aware of his struggles and knew what strategies and supports worked best for him, I really think Sebastian could have been so much more productive and so much happier at school. So next time I find myself trying to corral a chaotic child or understand a struggling student, I will remember to communicate. I will reach out to my fellow educators and other professionals, and I will share advice and findings of my own. Working together, we can be more effective advocates for the children that we teach. Thank you.